Hi, I'm Jose Armenta, and this is your Federal Employee Benefits, where we cover topics aimed at helping FERS federal employees like you make smart financial decisions. Today, we're going to discuss whether federal employees should elect a survivor benefit. So, we're going to cover what the survivor benefit is and the three factors that you should know about when deciding whether you should elect the survivor benefit. Now, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Okay, let's dive in. Okay, so what is the survivor benefit? Well, when you retire, you'll have the option of leaving a survivor annuity or the survivor benefit to a beneficiary or someone with an insurable interest, someone who depends on you financially. Okay, now when you elect a survivor benefit, the beneficiary, the person you elect, will receive a portion of your pension when you die. So this is a huge benefit, and it's something that you really need to consider when you're approaching retirement. Okay, so the first thing to understand when trying to decide whether to elect a survivor benefit is the cost, right? You need to understand the cost and the benefit because like most things, this is no free lunch. Okay, there are certainly some costs that come along with this benefit. Okay, now the first two options, there's actually four options. The first two involve leaving the benefit to a spouse or a former spouse. Okay, so the first option is called the full survivor benefit, and the name's a bit deceiving because the benefit amount is not your full pension. If you die, your spouse does not receive your full pension. It's actually 50% of your unreduced pension that will be left to your spouse. Okay, so the full survivor benefit is 50% of your pension, and the cost is 10% of your pension. Okay, so again, first option, leave a 50% of your pension to your spouse upon your death, and the cost while you're alive is going to be 10% of your pension. Once you die, your spouse will start receiving 50% of your pension, and the cost will cease. Okay, they will not have to pay the cost upon your death. The 10% reduction goes away. Okay, that's the first option. Now, the second option is called the reduced survivor benefit. Okay, and like the first option of 50% benefit, this 25% benefit kicks in upon your death. So it's a 25% of your pension, unreduced pension, goes to your surviving spouse, and the cost is 5%. Okay, so it's basically 50% of the full survivor is what the reduced is, right? So the benefit amount, again, 25% of your unreduced pension, the cost is 5% of your pension, and then again, upon your death, the costs stop and the benefit kicks in. Now, the third option is to elect no benefit. Okay, so you can, this is not mandatory. However, if you elect anything but the full survivor benefit, your spouse, and you're married, your spouse will have to sign off. Okay, you will have to notarize that form. So keep that in mind. Okay, if you elect anything but the full survivor benefit, your spouse will have to sign off on that. Okay, so the third option is to elect no benefit amount. Okay, now the fourth option is called an insurable interest. Okay, the first two involved leaving a benefit to your spouse. The third was leaving no benefit. And then the fourth option is an insurable interest. So if you're leaving a survivor benefit to someone who relies on you financially but is not your spouse. Okay, now this benefit has some significant costs. It can range anywhere from 10% of the pension to 40% of the pension, and you also have to be in good health. Okay, so you do have to undergo a health screening. Okay, now the second thing to understand when trying to decide whether to elect a survivor benefit is pension maxing. Okay, pension maxing is a strategy that some federal employees decide to use. Okay, so when you're approaching retirement, some federal employees are trying to decide whether to take that reduction and elect a survivor benefit or to use what's called pension maxing, which is buying term insurance and leaving the term insurance to their spouse as a benefit upon their death. Because if you use this strategy, often you could ladder term policies, meaning have maybe a few 10-year policies that range what you expect your life to be. Let's say you plan on living for 30 or more years, you might buy 10-year term policies and ladder them. And so when you die, your spouse would receive the death benefit from these policies. Okay, it's called pension maxing, and often you can use this strategy and pay more or pay less for the policy than you would have for in electing a survivor benefit. Okay, so often it's a cheaper way to leave a benefit for your spouse. However, but okay, there are some things that you have to consider when deciding whether you want to use this strategy and forego the survivor benefit. Okay, it's not a clear cut strategy. It's not a clear cut win by any means. And so some of the things you have to keep in mind when determining whether to use pension maxing is, do you know when you're going to die for certain? Okay, most people don't. You have an idea, maybe, right? You can look at your life expectancy. You can look at the life of your parents and your grandparents, get an idea of what your life expectancy is, but you don't know when you're going to die. And so there's a risk that you can outlive the term policies that you bought, right? Let's say you expected to live 30 years in retirement and you bought 10-year term policies, so 30 years is the coverage you had, and you live past that 30 years. You have no more coverage, right? You'll have to buy a policy at an older age, right? When your health is not as good as it was 30 years prior, and so you're going to pay a lot more for that policy. And so in the end, you may end up paying more for the pension maxing than you would have had you elected the survivor benefit. Okay, so it's not a clear-cut win because there's some uncertainty there. You don't know exactly when you're going to die, okay, and how long you need the policies to last. Okay, the second thing that you need to keep in mind when trying to determine whether pension maxing would make sense for you is that the survivor benefit has cost of living adjustments, right? Just like your pension, your first pension. Okay, they have COLAs. Okay, oftentimes you're not going to find a term policy that have COLAs. Okay, so there's not going to be an adjustment. If you were to die and your spouse was to receive a lump sum insurance policy, they're going to have to figure out how to turn this lump sum of the insurance benefit into an income stream for the rest of their life. Okay, that can be difficult depending on what the economy is doing, depending on their knowledge of finance. So it's not really an apples to apple comparison. The survivor benefit provides them a guaranteed stream of income with cost of living adjustments that go up with inflation. A lump sum insurance benefit does not do that, right? It's not a guaranteed income stream. They're going to have to figure out how to turn that into an income stream, and there's not going to be any cost of living adjustments that come with that. Okay, the policy amount will be fixed most of the time. And the third and last thing you have to keep in mind when deciding whether to use pension maxing instead of electing a survivor benefit is that having a survivor benefit is necessary for your spouse to keep their health insurance, their FEHB. Okay, so you will keep your health insurance as long as you meet eligibility. Most federal employees will keep their health insurance going into retirement. Okay, your spouse can keep their health insurance when you pass if they have a survivor benefit. Okay, if you do not elect the survivor benefit for your spouse, okay, then they will not be eligible to keep their health insurance. So this is huge. This is huge, and this is something that you have to consider. I will harp on this all the time. Okay, the number one reason why you want to elect at least a reduced survivor benefit for your spouse, okay, is because it's necessary for them to maintain their health insurance to stay on FEHB if you were to pass away. Okay, so that's one of the major reasons why pension maxing may not make sense for most federal employees. Okay, and the third thing that you need to understand when discussing the survivor benefit, when trying to determine whether to elect the survivor benefit, is the timeline that you have to make this election. Okay, so let's say you make an election, whatever that election is, you decide not to elect the survivor benefit, or you decide to elect the full survivor benefit. Okay, if you have retired and it's been less than 30 days since your first full pension paycheck, okay, your full regular pension paycheck, it's been less than 30 days, then you can change your election. Okay, so again, if it's been less than 30 days, you can change your election. You can reduce it, you can increase it, you can make whatever changes you want if it's been less than 30 days. However, if it's been more than 30 days since your first regular FERS retirement paycheck, but less than 18 months, then you can only increase your election. Okay, so if it's been more than 30 days, less than 18 months, then you can only increase your election. You can't reduce it, you can only increase it. So if you selected the reduced benefit, then you can increase it to the full survivor benefit. Okay, but again, you cannot reduce it if it's been more than 30 days, less than 18 months. Now, if it's been longer than 18 months, then you can't make any changes unless there's a qualifying event. So divorce, marriage, death of your beneficiary. Okay, one of those three, then you can make a change to your election. Okay, so those are important dates. Keep that in mind when you're deciding on this benefit. As you approach retirement, you have many important decisions to make, and deciding on whether to elect a survivor benefit is one of them. Let me know in the comments below if you think you'll elect a survivor benefit, whether it be the full, the reduced, or a non-spousal benefit, or whether you won't elect a benefit at all. Okay. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. That's the best way to support this channel. And until next time, I'm Jose Armenta. Take care.